Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome, buongiorno, bienvenue, und willkommen, wherever you are in the world, to That Saturday Feeling episode 9. That just about covers the world, doesn't it, Nick?
Well, it covers about 2 countries, yeah. I think there's quite a lot of the rest of the world you've missed out, but it was a good effort.
Excellent, thank you. I am your host, Ken Davis. I'm joined by Nick, the Hitman Britain, for the usual roundup of all things Premier League. Welcome, Nick.
Hello, Ken. Great to see you as always, and you're looking beautifully garbed out in your Super Bowl gear.
Didn't you get the memo?
I didn't get the memo, and I haven't got any American football stuff anyway, so it would have been a bit of a waste of time, even if I had.
Big weekend this weekend. Kansas City Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Kansas City Chiefs are going for the 3-timer, and we don't want them to win because it's boring.
Yeah, there was a moment. I have no idea. I literally have no idea. There was a moment at the end of the Newcastle Arsenal semi-final last night where Dan Burn came out and did his post-match interviews, and Mark Chapman, who was on Sky but obviously soon to take over from Gary Lineker as one of the 3 new hosts of Match of the Day, said, and Dan Burn sort of the interview ended, and Dan Burn simply said to him, Eagles or who's the other one? Who's the other one on it?
The Chiefs.
Yeah, Eagles or Chiefs, and it took Chappers completely by surprise. It totally threw him
because he's a big NFL guy.
He's a big NFL guy. Just didn't expect the question.
Fair enough. Anyway, I'll tell you, it's going to be the Eagles 31-27. The halftime show, by the way, Kendrick Lamar and SZA, who is a goddess, magnificent. SZA, SZA. Don't look at me like that. How come I've got my fingers on the pulse and you're like shaking your head? SZA.
Something like that. Are you trying to be down with the kids here?
I am down with the kids.
No.
Well, I used to be down with the kids till I got that letter from the police. But anyway, she's a superstar. Looking forward to that. So, What are we talking about today?
It's got to be better than Kanye West and his naked Grammy's girlfriend, isn't it? So let's face it, it's going to be more entertaining than that.
That was a bit minging, wasn't it?
It was horrible.
Anyway, so this week we're going to take a look at the January transfer window. Obviously, it seems to creep into February. Is it just me? Or there was definitely stuff going on in February, wasn't there, Nick?
No, because the window shut. Well, it did go into February because the window didn't shut till Monday night, and that was February the 3rd.
Ridiculous.
So it did go into February, yes.
Isn't that weird? Considering Friday night is the 31st.
Yeah. Friday night was the 31st, but the window actually shut at 11 o'clock on Monday the 3rd.
Call me old-fashioned, Nick, but
no,
the 3rd of February ain't the January transfer window. Anyway, we're going to have a good look at that in terms of which teams did well, which teams did badly, which players I think we're going to have to get used to smashing it in the Premier League. By the way, Nick, is it actually possible to do good business in the January transfer window, do you think? I mean, has it ever done?
It is. And we're looking at some teams today, and look, not many teams spent that much. The whole thing was skewed by the fact that Manchester City spent £178 million. Now, that is just obscene, if you ask me, at any level, for a club that's facing so many charges on PSR, and it just feels wrong. But they did. The next was Wolves, who spent £42 million. So the answer is we don't quite know yet. Is it good? But if Wolves stay up, having spent £42 million, that's good business.
Yeah, that's right.
Staying up's going to be worth a lot more than £42 million. If they go down, having spent £42 million, that is not good business. So it is. Look, traditionally, it's a bit of a desperate market. Prices are inflated because if you are buying in January, the seller knows that you are in need. Therefore, they can inflate the price. But there are some good signings that have been made out there. I've got three players who I think have been the best signings of the transfer market. And ultimately, is there business to be done? Yes, of course there is, because if you are in absolute need of a striker or in need of a defender or in need of a goalkeeper, then you've got to go out and buy one. It's as simple as that.
Makes a lot of sense. It is an interesting kind of dynamic that's going on in January, I think, between desperation and ambition. There's definitely some transactions which have taken place, which I think indicate ambition. And I'm thinking maybe Aston Villa. I mean, I think Villa have had a decent one. We'll come to that later on. But also, there's some deals that just smack of desperation, and we'll come to that as well. So you are listening to episode 9, by the way, of That Saturday Feelings podcast. It's part of the glorious Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, on women's football, and we do a big roundup in English as well, and loads more to come. MSL is going to be on its way soon. A World Cup podcast is going to be on its way soon as well. So very pleased you've joined us. Thanks for everybody who listens every day to the GSPN. So, Nick, over to you. So, if you were to highlight a couple of transfers that caught your eye, which ones would you say were top of that list?
Well, I picked up 3, which I think might be great deals. The first one is Julio Soler, who's moved from Lannis to Bournemouth for £6.7 million, which in Premier League transfer funds is loose change down the back of the sofa. But he's a really, really exciting prospect. He's only 19 years old. He's a really, really good left back, and he fits into Areola's high press, high energy way of playing. He might not play all the time from the off, but I think it's for that amount of money you are getting massive bang for your buck, particularly as we talked about in January. The January transfer window, it's probably worth saying this at this stage, the January transfer window, particularly this year that's just finished, seems to be far more about teams keeping hold of their best players than it is about teams buying other players. And there's been a lot of that, because 8 out of the 20 Premier League teams didn't spend a penny, but their supporters will tell you that it's been a good window because we've managed to hang on to this player or this player or this player.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There'll be a few of them that we go through, I think, in the course of this episode, where you kind of may have put money on that player moving on, but they've been tied down to sometimes longer deals. So that's certainly been a feature.
So Julio Soler, I think, will be a very, very interesting player when he comes in. You look at the youth of Bournemouth's team. So many of Areola's permanent signings are under 21. They're playing regular football, and they really fit his style. And I think to get a player of Soler's quality for that amount of money, I think it's an excellent deal. I really do, because the worst thing that's going to happen is his value will go up by being involved in the Premier League. So even if it doesn't work out particularly, they'll be able to sell him for more than what they bought him for.
Yeah, he's got a model, I think, going on at Bournemouth. We saw that even in the Liverpool game, which I thought they were very good in. And I think that you say that high energy, that high press, clearly this guy's got a very high ceiling. The nice thing about that particular deal, I think, is that he's got a high floor and he's got a high ceiling. So whatever happens, they're unlikely to lose a fortune on Soler, I would have thought.
Exactly that, and he's safe. He fits that revolution. So that's great. That's the first one. The second one I've highlighted is Matis Tel, who's gone from Bayern to Tottenham on loan initially, but Tottenham have got a £45.8 million option to sign him. He's only 19, so he's still young, but the German media and certainly people at Bayern rate him very, very, very highly. His development at Bayern has been somewhat. Not stunted is the wrong word, but perhaps slowed down, or because of Harry Kane. You can't get the team ahead of Harry Kane. Who can? And Harry Kane has been unstoppable at Bayern since he went there. So Tell's had to bide his time. He's had to, when he's played, he's had to play out of position a little bit on the wing, but he is a front man. He will want to play through the middle. And let's face it, with Dominic Solanke out, Tottenham don't have any strikers, and they are absolutely desperate. They're not, in my opinion, any danger of getting relegated. Let's just sort of stop any of this relegation talk. That's not going to happen. But they do need to get up the league. They do need to start putting some wins together. So they need a striker. I think getting him on loan up until the summer is a decent move, because it'll allow him at least to have a look at how he fits into the system. Ange said he had a good couple of hours on the phone with him. And so it seems like a really smart move for all parties. He's a very, very good player. He gets to play in the Premier League at a very big club. and Tottenham have got, I think, a good deal out of it as well. And as we just mentioned, good deals and January transfer windows they're not often easy bedfellows. So, yep, that's my second one is Matthias Tell rather from Bayern to Tottenham.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of clubs chasing him. I know Rennes were very interested in him from the French league. Now, you suppose you're always going to pick the Premier League over the French league, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of interest in him. Though I did hear that he was really on the cusp. He couldn't really work out whether he wanted to bide his time at Bayern or whether he wanted to go to Spurs. And in fact, for a period of time he decided he was going to stay. And then he spent a couple of hours with Ange on the phone. Ange was offering him boomerangs, kangaroos, as many Barbies as you wanted, and managed to turn him around and said, well,
steady. He won't have time for that. He's playing football.
Well, but anyway, you got him there. And not only did he get him there, they actually got the clause in there that they've got a buyout option as well. So well done, Spurs. Well done, Daniel Levy. Well done, Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah, I don't suppose Daniel Levy's going to get any praise. I don't suppose the Levy out banners will be being taken down from Tottenham games of late. But it is a good signing, and it probably is a good bit of business.
Great.
And my last one.
Go on.
If you want to go, or do you want to come in with one?
No. You crack on, and then we'll look at some of the teams.
Yeah, my last one very quickly then is Emmanuel Agbadou, who's moved from Stade de Rennes. Speaking of not turning down French teams for the Premier League, he's moved from the French League to the Premier League, and he's gone to Wolves for £16.75 million. He's again young, untested at this level, Premier League level, but he's got a good pedigree. He's well thought of, and Wolves have done a bit of good business because they've realised that there's a great chance they'll get relegated if they don't stop shipping loads of goals. So they've strengthened their defence, and this guy is a very good defender. I think he'll do well for them. And again, just short £17 million is not a bad bit of business for the January transfer window. And I think Wolves focusing on their defence for January and bringing in a couple of players is absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah, in fact, they double dipped at Rennes. Because they got Menezzi as well. So Wolves have made a bit of a statement, I think, more than some of the other relegated teams. We'll talk about some of the teams in a moment. First, before we get onto that, I just want to play you this.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimize your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
That bloke's got a sexy voice, hasn't he? Who's that?
Do you know what? I almost didn't recognise you then. Until I heard that little twang just towards the end. You couldn't quite keep it up for the whole advert there, could you?
Well, story of my life, not being able to keep me twang up till the end. But there you go. Yeah, that was what's called an advert. Anyway, let's talk about some of the teams then, because they're some of the stars that we're going to look forward to seeing in the Premier League over the course of the next few months. Teams-wise, I had a good look through all the teams, and you're right. It's kind of half the teams just kind of, there's hardly any flicker, hardly any interest in any kind of moves. But certain teams definitely rolled the dice in January, and there's 3 or 4 I just want to pick out here. Get your view on what's going on here. First one is Villa. Clearly, they eyeing up a return back to the Champions League. Emery's got there's 5. There's Axel Disasi on loan from Chelsea, defender. Marco Asensio on loan from PSG, midfielder. Doniel Milan from Dortmund, forward. Andres Garcia from Leganes, who's a defender. And, of course, right at the end, Marcus Rashford. Last chance saloon for Marcus. And they managed to keep hold of Ollie Watkins. So, all in all, you've got to, if you're a Villa supporter, you've got to be pretty satisfied with some of the activity that was going on there. What's your take on the Villa transfer window?
Also, they sold John Duran, didn't
They
they,
did.
to Saudi
Well, that
league
funded everything,
at about
really.
70 odd million quid. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in all, good bit of business because they're all decent players. Obviously, the whole thing was overshadowed. All of their business was overshadowed by Marcus Rashford coming in on loan from Manchester United. But you're right, and it's who knows how that will work out. It could be an absolute disaster, could be a bit of genius. It's all down on Rashford and his approach to the move. He
Did
must
you see
know
the
by going to
photo of Rashford being signed?
No, I
I,
didn't know. No.
I was at a funeral today. There were happier people there. That's all
Right.
I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. That kind of plays into the narrative of how it's all gone. And there was already been criticism of Rashford because I think he'd said that he was going to commute from his home in an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes from Birmingham. By the way, if he thinks he can get from Birmingham to Manchester or that area in an hour and a half on the M6 during rush hour, think again, my friend.
Yeah.
You can double your time for that, and suggestion that he really ought to be living very much closer to the training ground and closer to the stadium. So it's already kind of started, isn't it? It's already started. But it'll all be whether Unai Emery can get a tune out of him. It's as simple as that.
Mm.
And it's an odd move. Well, I've got to say, I don't think anybody saw it coming. It was a curious one. And I suppose if you're Villa, you need backup for Watkins, and Rashford can obviously play through the middle or he can play out wide. So there's a bit of versatility in there. But it'll be very interesting to see how he gets on. But you're right, Villa have sort of staked their claim and having a big push for Champions League glory, of course, this season because they're in the competition still, but also to qualify in the top four. It's a bit of a challenge for them.
Yeah.
I think that ship might have sailed. They're going to have to put on a hell of a spurt and hope that other teams above them fall off a little bit. But
Well,
they're giving it a go.
they've given it a go, and I'm pleased about that. There wasn't too much interest in Rashford. I mean, I think was it Ferenc Varos? Certainly, one of the Turkish teams may have been in for him, but that was kind of it. But good luck to him. I think he needed the move. I mean, clearly things
He
aren't
needs to
working out.
move, and it's sad. It's sad to see in many ways, isn't it? It's sad to see because we all remember him when he was in his absolute
Oh
pomp
yeah,
and brilliance. When he's on it, he's absolutely fantastic. But it's just sad to see that nobody even wanted to buy him, presumably because of the reported £325,000 a week wages. That's probably why. It wasn't because I didn't think he was a good footballer, but there are very, very few teams who can afford that kind of money. And I'd very much imagine any suitors were immediately put off by the wages.
it's just Birmingham City and Wrexham these days. Right. The other two teams that we should mention, dark horse Ipswich. Thought Ipswich had a decent transfer window. Ben Godfrey from Atalanta, defender. Philogene from Villa. They've been after in the summer, forward obviously. They've managed to get Jaden Philogene. Julio Enciso from Brighton, midfielder. Alex Palmer from West Brom, who's goalkeeper. And I'll try this. Somto Chukwu Boniface from Chelsea, under 21 defender, but obviously somebody they're looking to the future with. But, plenty going on. Portman Road. Good luck to him. I think Ipswich are giving themselves a chance, and I think this is going to help them again.
Well, they've had to, because they are on the backward slide here, Ipswich. We talked about them quite a lot earlier in the season when they weren't winning games, but they were always in games.
Yeah.
And they were always competitive, and you always felt they're in it. And even if they're on the end of a kind of one or two goal defeat, of late they haven't been. And I'm afraid losing to Southampton at home last weekend is pretty catastrophic. And I think they've had to roll the dice to try and stay up. Ben Godfrey, former York City lad, by the way, is a good player. He's a good player. He's tried and tested at this level with Everton, and I think he'll do well for them. I'm not sure. Signing under 21 players from other teams, reserve teams, is really going to be that much help. I don't know.
Not this year.
It's going to be difficult to be pitched into a relegation battle, and that's what they are, because they've got to just roll up their sleeves and fight now. Ipswich, they've got a chance as long as they can keep Rory Delap fit. But yeah, they've tried.
Rory Delap.
I mean, interesting. One of the signings is a goalkeeper.
They've got Rory Delap playing as well now for him.
Did I say? What did I say, Rory? I
Your
meant Liam
mate.
Delap, obviously. His son. My apologies. Yeah, interestingly, one of their signings was a goalkeeper, and they've signed a goalkeeper only 6 months after spending £10 million on Murich from Burnley
Yeah.
as their first choice goalkeeper. So that money is, that's 10 million quid down the spout, isn't it? If they don't fancy Murich anymore, he has been making mistakes of late. So yeah, they are. It's quite a signal of intent from Ipswich. They've only spent £20 million, but then again, they spent £120 million in the summer. So for their sake, you want to hope they stay up, because if you go down with that sort of debt into the Championship, even with parachute payments, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Well, looking at the 4 teams at the bottom, we touched on Wolves earlier. They seem to have rolled the dice a little bit. Ipswich seems to have rolled the dice a little bit. Leicester got Koulibaly, didn't they, the fullback, but it just feels like they haven't done enough work. They haven't done enough business. Southampton just seem to have given up. So it looks like of the 4 teams who are certainly in my kind of on the piece of paper to maybe lose their premiership status this year, 2 of them seem to have rolled the dice, and 2 of them seem to have kept the dice in the pocket.
Yeah, and I don't think. And when you look at the 2, Leicester, you kind of feel have given up. Southampton, you kind of feel have given up. Although Leicester are only 2 points behind, and they were out of the relegation zone briefly the other week when they beat Tottenham, but they're back in it now. Wolves, if I'm honest, I think Wolves have done the better business out of the 4, because
Okay.
they seem to have really targeted their one weak spot. We know they've got good attacking players. We know they can score goals. We know they've got good flair. The reason they're down the bottom of the league is because they can't defend. And they've
Yeah.
gone out and really strengthened their defence. And that, to me, just makes sense. It's that set. I mean, Ipswich, you go, well, they bought a player for here and a player for there and a player for there. Fine, but it looks like Wolves are just a little bit more structured, and they've really targeted that weak spot. And look, I said at the start when Pereira took over, I expected them to pull away from the bottom 3 quite comfortably, and I expected them to see them in 15th, 16th, 17th, 15th, 16th kind of place, but with no danger of going down. They haven't done that, but there's still a chance. I think they probably have still got enough. So I would expect the bottom 3 to remain as they are: Southampton, Ipswich, and Leicester.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page on that. And it's a very good point you make there. They seem to have been much more clinical in targeting their weakness. Good point. Well made. I suppose the only other thing to mention before we move on to predictions in the FA Cup is City. They dominated the spending. Of course, we were saying a few weeks ago, they've turned things around a little bit, but we were saying a few weeks ago, aging squad, it's all unbalanced, loss of Rodri. Have they done enough this time just to kind of steady the ship? We've got Omar Marmoush, who's joined from Frankfurt forward. Kazanov, did you see Kazanov's mistake at the week? Oh my word! From Lens,
I know.
defender, that was grim. Vitor Reis from Palmeiras, Brazil, defender. Gonzalez from Porto, £60 million. That's going to give him some physicality, some size in midfield. That's probably going to be a good move. But they've said goodbye to Kyle Walker. So, on balance, City, how would you rate City's window?
Well, we'll see. It's difficult to know until all these players start playing.
Well, it was about a minute, wasn't it, in the case of Kasanov?
Well, that's true. Yeah, he didn't have the best. He didn't have the best debut. Although, to be fair, after that, Howler, which gifted Arsenal a goal, he did play well. I thought. He did play well. But they've got to bed in, and it's always difficult to bed 4 or 5 players into a team at once. It's always difficult. It takes time, and Man City don't. Well, they don't have a lot of time, depending on what their what they want to achieve, I guess, out of this season. They want to win the Champions League, but they're not going to do that unless they have a massive upturn in form.
Can't see it.
And it's going to be hard. It's going to be, you can't see where that's coming from. They look so fragile against Arsenal last week.
Yeah.
It's so fragile. So I guess it's all about Premier League. It's all about winning. It's all about qualifying for the top 4, isn't it? That's kind of what it's. That's going to be.
I think they're going for third.
That's going to have to be. It's going to have to be a kind of the benchmark of success, as if they can get back into the top 4.
Well, I think that's it. I think they're aiming for third place, and that's as these additions to the squad are very much with that in mind. So, here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all of Nick's mistakes, all of them. It's super easy to start a
So,
podcast. It sounds
remove
great.
some of your terrible jokes.
And delivered efficiently. If you want to tell your story, check out the link in the show notes to learn more about our friends at Zencaster who do a great job for us. So thank you, Jamil.
They do. They're great partners. I've got to say, I really like them, and they do a great job with us.
They do. Bless them. Now, we've got to talk about something that I didn't really want to talk about this week, which is predictions. I didn't cover myself with glory last week. I didn't. I got 3 out of 10 predictions right, but I also said 3 things. I said that the Forest bubble had burst. I said that Spurs were clearly going to lose at Brentford, not even worth turning up. And I said Derby were going to surprise Sheffield United at home. That didn't play out too well.
No, it didn't. It didn't. And I messaged you relentlessly on Saturday morning
I
as
turned
all
the
the
phone off in the
Forest
end, to
goals
be
were.
honest.
Yeah, all the Forest goals were rattling in. Listen, at least you don't own that pub in Gedling, which gave 3 pints out for every goal Forest scored, thinking they might sort of sneak it 1-0 or 2-0. They won 7-0 and they lost equivalent of 1,500 quid in 300,
Wow.
300 free pints they had to give out.
Wow.
So,
And
yeah,
that
at
was a
least you own
party.
that. Yeah, amazing Forest. What a bounce back and a superb performance. Tottenham again. Funnily, interesting enough, Tottenham's win at Brentford was exactly what Tottenham fans have been crying out for. In as much as it was a proper away performance where they defended well, they were well structured, and they weren't all the things that Tottenham have been this season, which is just a bit nuts and gung ho and
Flaky.
leaving yourself wide open.
Yeah.
And they had to face quite a lot of pressure, especially in the latter parts of the game. And they did it really well. They did it really well. And for Tottenham to score in the opening few minutes of a match and then to cling on and win 1-0 for the vast majority of the match is extraordinary. We've not seen that for a long time. So it wasn't just the result that was there. I think the performance was certainly worth noting. And as for Derby, surprising Sheffield United, they probably did surprise them because it was only 1-0.
Well, we should say we must not move on from this point without saying that Derby are now 7 losses on the bounce. I mean,
8 if you include the FA Cup. And I view, with an element of annoyance that, Leyton Orient are home to Manchester City tomorrow, because that would have been Derby had they beaten Leyton Orient, but they didn't. They lost in the middle of this bad league run. So it's 8 defeats on the road, 7 in the league, 1 in the cup. And we go to Norwich. Saturday, and their home form is very, very good. So we're going to have to pull something out of the bag.
you are like a new manager. Right. Okay. By the way, I got 3 out of 10 last week. That gives me a running percentage success rate of 33%, roughly Paul Warren's. Yours, Nick.
There's no need, is there?
Huh?
There's no need for that.
No, there's no need. It's gratuitous. It's gratuitous Warren baiting. But we can do that because we're in Derby. Nick got 4 out of 10. He's now on 24 out of 49. 49% success rate. That's more.
I started off last week really well, and then it tailed away massively. I thought I was going to be on for a bumper score last week. But do you know what? 2 of the results, which I knew, this time last week, when I was saying those words coming out of my mouth, I knew I was wrong. I knew Palace would go and beat Man United, and I just don't know why I put down a draw. And there were a couple of results there where I just thought, I've not gone with my heart here. I've just said something that I didn't mean to say.
Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the FA Cup 4th round for every game that includes a Premier League team in it. So I've got 12 of them. I hope I haven't missed anyone. So we're going to rattle through them. Just give me whether you think, and by the way, these are the 90-minute scores. I'm not messing around with extra time or penalties. So I want to know from you, Nick, Man United, Leicester.
Yeah, Man United will win.
Okay, you're going for home after 90 minutes.
Yeah, home after 90 minutes. Yeah, I don't think Man United are great, but you don't have to be great to beat Leicester, do you?
Not on last week's performance. I've gone for a home as well. Leighton Orient versus Man City. Oh, what might have been, Nick?
I don't even want to. I don't. I'd love Leyton Orient to win. Um, uh, they won't. I don't think they will win. So I'm going for an away win for Manchester City, and I think it'll probably be quite comfortable in the end.
Of course it will. Coventry Ipswich. Interesting one.
Yeah, no, I think Coventry will win. I think
Okay.
they're playing quite. I think they're playing quite well, and I can see. I don't know this obviously, but I can't imagine Ipswich are going to put out a full strength side. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've got bigger things to worry about. So no, I'm going to go for Frank Lampard's Coventry City.
Very good. I've gone for a draw after 90 minutes. Everton Bournemouth.
Everton Bournemouth. Yeah, good one. Everton, I probably owe Everton a bit of an apology because I keep going on about how terrible they are, but they've actually really picked up under David Moyes, and had a really good win last week. So I've got to stop. I've got to stop sort of being so down on Everton and being sort of they are despite losing some key players, they're suddenly scoring goals. So Moyes has gone in and done a really good job there straight away. Big kudos to him. Big kudos to Everton. They're going to be safe after a couple more wins if they're not already. But Bournemouth are a different kettle of fish altogether. It's a hard one to call. I might just go down the middle here after 90 minutes and call a draw because it's very difficult in the FA Cup, isn't it, to know what teams are going to be put out. If it's a Premier League game, I'd fancy Bournemouth, if I'm honest with you. But you just don't know who's going to be rested and where the priorities lie.
Yeah, that's all true. I've gone for a home win. I think Everton are riding the Moyes wave at the moment. I can see Everton getting to the cup final. Just got a feeling about it.
Wow.
Mark,
Is this
Saturday feeling, episode 9. You know how good my predictions are as well.
Yeah. Can I just remind you those words? Forest's bubble has burst. Yeah, Everton will get to the cup final.
Yeah, I just know I'm going to be getting the text when Bournemouth are 3-0 up at half time.
You bet.
Southampton Burnley. There's a tricky one.
Yeah, it is. So Burnley are obviously they've not let a goal in like 9 games or something ridiculous, and they haven't conceded a league goal in 2025.
Yeah,
okay, I think that's
9
games, whatever.
30 games.
Yeah, a lot of them being 0-0. They don't score that many, but they don't concede many. Southampton at home might fancy giving it a go. They're a decent Championship side, Southampton, so it could be a good game. But yeah, I can see this. I'm going to go for a home win. I'm going to go for a home win on this.
Home win. I've gone for a draw. Wigan Fulham.
Yeah, draw. Yeah, draws about right, but I'll go for a home win.
Wigan Fulham.
Well, surely away win.
Okay, I've gone for a draw. Birmingham against Newcastle. This is an interesting game.
I think this is the best game of the
no question.
I think it's a great game. And Newcastle, what a performance last night, by the way, because we're recording this on Thursday. What a performance last night against Arsenal. Absolutely superb. And 2 games, they've beaten Arsenal home and away to reach the Carabao Cup final, so they will be absolutely buzzing. But Birmingham are running away with League One. And out of the 2 big spenders in League One, one of them is going to get promoted, one of them might not. The Hollywood ownerships.
We haven't spent like they've spent. We haven't spent like they've spent.
No, you haven't. Nobody's spent like they spent. No Championship team has spent like Birmingham spent in League One. So they'll be up for it. It should be a really good game. I think Newcastle will edge it. I think they'll win because they're a very good side and they're riding a fantastic run of form. I know they've had a couple of home defeats recently, but they're still on a really good run of form when you take into account all the other games that they played. That's 9. I think it's 9 victories, 2 defeats out of the last 11. And ultimately, Birmingham are a League One side, and Newcastle are a top-end Premier League side. So Newcastle to win it.
Okay, I've got draw after 90 minutes. Brighton Chelsea.
There's a lot of draws in your thing.
It does happen, extra time. I want extra time for Birmingham. I want them. I'm just sad they can't have 18 replays, to be quite honest. But yeah, I'm going to have to just hope for extra time. So Brighton Chelsea.
Yeah, draw. Two teams that are out of form, two teams that are kind of searching for something they can't quite put their finger on at the moment, and I think that'll be a draw after 90 minutes.
I've got home win for that. Blackburn Wolves.
Blackburn win, home win.
Home win. I've got that as a draw. Plymouth Liverpool. Plymouth
We
Liverpool.
haven't agreed on. Well, I don't think we've agreed on any of them yet, have we?
Not really.
Sorry, who's
Man
playing
City
Liverpool?
away at Leighton Orient. We agreed on.
Yeah.
Liverpool Plymouth or Plymouth Liverpool.
Oh well, I think we're going to agree on this. I think we're going to agree on this. Plymouth 0, Liverpool under 15s 9 or something.
Aston Villa v Spurs. Talking about tie of the round.
Yeah. That is a really good game, isn't it? That's a really good game. I think home advantage might count, so I'll go for Villa.
Yeah, we're agreeing now. And final one, Doncaster Rovers against Crystal Palace, your old stomping ground.
Oh, no question here. No question here. Palace's away form is sensational.
Yeah.
Since September, they've not lost an away game, and they went to Old Trafford last Sunday and quite comfortably turned Man United over. They're great to see Adam Wharton back on a pitch after 3 months out injured. He came on as a sub. That's really good to see. Mateta's banging form at the moment. It was their second goal, by the way. The second goal was a classic kind of thing that you tell kids when they're playing. They're playing. So as the shot comes in, it hits the bar, comes down off the bar, and you've got Mateta and Harry Maguire. Yeah, Mateta is anticipating and moving towards the ball, and Maguire is just standing stock still, looking at it, and Mateta smacks it in the net, empty net.
How ordinary were United though? I mean, they can be proper ordinary.
Really poor. I mean, I think Amorim will turn it around, but he's got a hell of a job on. So anyway, Palace win.
Great. I've got a Palace win as well. So that's where we are prediction-wise. Hopefully I'll do better than last time. I need to start clawing some of these results back, getting close to you. So that's it for That Saturday Feeling version 9. Enjoyed that. That was an interesting little dabble through the January transfer window. Thanks for your input, Nick, on that. Thanks for your predictions. Have a great week, mate.
Yeah, have a great weekend, and good luck in the Super Bowl for you. And
the Bengals aren't playing. The Bengals aren't playing. We should be. That's why I've got my Joey Burrow kind of thing on.
Yeah, don't wear any of that out of the house, please.
No, the wife won't let me do that anyway. Have a good one.
Thanks, Kenny.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.